Welcome to
The
Testimony Tribe, where real people share real stories for God's glory. My name is Katelyn Ingardia.
And I'm Danae Hudson.
And we're two Christian moms who believe that every testimony matters and every voice can point to Jesus.
So each week we're going to gather around a table and we're going to hear from fellow believers about how God's moving in their lives. Stories of faith and perseverance that will encourage us and hopefully you in your walk with the Lord.
So pull up a chair because you're a part of the tribe now. And let's share, let's grow, and let's glorify God together.
So, Katelyn, why don't you share a little bit about how this podcast came to be?
Yeah, so about a month ago, everyone knows Charlie Kirk and all that happened. And I think there was a heavy emotion to do more in your Christian walk. I think for me, it was who's going to step up and be a voice and be an encouragement. And then also right before that, we had just had our ladies conference at our church. And Danae actually had said something to me about how she was a little down. All of that happened kind of simultaneously together. And she said, I was a little down and I just called in. You were out of town. You were on vacation, I think?
Yes.
Yeah. And she called in and she just talked to some of us ladies at the church. And she said, I felt so uplifted. You could say it better.
Yeah, all that had just happened and it just felt super heavy. I was in the airport. So for one, I had way too much time to read all the things and hear about what was going on. And I just FaceTimed Mackenzie because a lot of the women were at the church preparing and decorating and finishing. And I called and the conversation wasn't 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But we were just talking and cutting up back and forth and laughing and seeing everybody just pour into a work for the Lord. Yeah. And I just got off the phone feeling so uplifted and it really just changed my perspective on everything. Just a short conversation.
Yeah, what it can do.
Yeah.
And the power in that communication of like-minded people. And that stuck out to me. And then everything going on, it was like, who's going to step up? Who's going to fill some shoes of being that voice for Christ that's bold and not ashamed and encouraging out of love? And so I was actually headed into work the next Monday, I think it was, Danae, and I said, I really feel like I want to do a podcast and I want us to do it together. I want to ask Mac to come and be a part of it. Would you guys be interested in that? And I just said, I want to do something that's encouraging and that gives God glory. And I think we had some testimonies that Sunday or something that were shared. And just in that, somebody sharing their testimony, it's always encouraging to hear what the Lord's doing for other people and to know that he can do that for you. And that's pretty much the gist of how I got burdened to do this. And
if you don't know us personally, you know that this is super out of our comfort zone.
Very much so that.
Definitely stepping out in faith because although we do all share the gift of gab in our own circles, we don't always put ourselves out there on such a platform like this. Right. So to share is going to be a big thing for us to put ourselves out there. But we have faith that the Lord's led us here.
And we were hoping that the Lord would give us a verse for the podcast, a verse to kind of guide us into that. And the verse that he gave us, and we'll talk a little more about this later, but it's Revelations 12:11. They overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. And that's our mission. It's just to help people have more encouragement to overcome the things that are happening in their life through the word of testimony, because we know we can have victory through the blood of the Lamb, right?
And we believe in the power of the story and the ladies and maybe even some gentlemen that we plan to bring around the table are like-minded believers, and their testimonies obviously at some point have been influential in our lives, and we may even just know a small part of their testimony. Hopefully this will even encourage us to learn something about Katelyn yesterday in Sunday school and her mom. So there's always encouragement and learning from fellow believers, and so we believe in the power of that and sharing the testimony of one another.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing we want to share with you guys. We want you to come aboard and, like and follow so you can hear these testimonies. And what our plan for this podcast is that every week we'll have a person come in and share their story, how they met Christ, where they came from. And I think that's one thing that stood out to me when we were talking about starting this. A lot of times in church, you see the person in the pew, but you don't see where God brought them from. You don't see the things that God did for them and how he changed their life and the things that he's doing in their life now that a lot of us never would have dreamed he would be doing. And he gets the glory in that, not us. And I think that was one thing that I wanted to do with this podcast, and that Danae and Matt came aboard with and was like, let's do that, is bringing people in and letting them share what God has done for them. And different aspects of their life. So I'm really excited about that part for you guys to hear these people and their testimony. I'm excited to hear them.
I am too. Just a few that we kind of mentioned.
Yes. Okay, Mac, where are we going next?
All right. So you've told us a little bit about why the podcast, why the Testimony Tribe. You spoke to how important those testimonies are and also the importance of having a tribe or having a community. But let's get to know you guys a little bit more. Tell us about your individual testimonies.
Okay. Go ahead, Danae. You can kick it off.
Okay. So I was born and raised right here in South Carolina. So this is about the only place I've known as far as home. I was saved as a 14-year-old girl at a church here in Pickens County. And I just remember for the first time hearing, like I had made a profession as a young girl, but never any real change. And really, to be honest, I remember just playing with a calculator and up and deciding I wanted to go to the altar. So I'm pretty sure there was no Jesus involved in that. But I remember sitting on the second row of church and hearing for the first time that the Lord would convict you and that he would tell you you were lost. And I was like, wait a minute. Like, I thought you just knew you were lost. Growing up in church, that's kind of what I thought. You just kind of knew that you were lost and in a sinner. But that day, for the first time, I realized that like I was lost. I had never really been convicted, and the Lord showed me that I needed him as Savior. So as a 14-year-old girl, I asked Jesus into my heart. And so I just continued. I'll be honest, I had a lot of people pour into me as a young person. I never grew up with a large youth group, but I always had a lot of good, strong Christians in my life that poured into me and prayed over me. And I remember those times as a young girl. So then I met my husband at the time, not at the time, but met my boyfriend at like 16.
Or Bo.
My little boy. And we got married. And
At 16?
No, we started dating what we could. So I wasn't allowed to date. My parents were extremely strict about that. But my mom fell in love with him before I did.
No.
And she wanted me to date him so bad that she told me that if it was him, that she would let me go to Zaxby's for our first date.
Nice.
Okay.
Whereas, like, if it was anybody else, it was a no. But because it was him, she would allow it because she really did fall in love with him before I did. And so we went on our first little date to Zaxby's, and I remember I did all the talking.
I was about to say eat more.
He did not. He did not do any talking that day. I did all the talking. And so anyways, from there, it was just history. Ended up getting engaged, getting married. I got married at 21. We have 2 children, a son and a daughter, 8 and 10. And we live right here in Pickens. We serve at Mount Sinai Baptist Church. Well, yeah. I'm in real estate and passionate about community. Very passionate. I think even some memories were popping up of the hurricane last year. And honestly, like my life changed so much because of that time. So that really opened my eyes to community. And so I've really looked for opportunities to serve. And so I look back over my life and really, truly the highlights are when the Lord has opened up doors for me to serve in those capacities. We love young people. Young people's what we do. And we love to serve in youth ministry. And the Lord has allowed us to do that for several years now. And so that's always like a highlight of my year, getting to spend it with young people.
And you do it so well. She's always looking for an opportunity to serve, especially in the community that we live. I can say that about you because I know you won't say it about yourself, but she really does. If there's something going on in the community, she has called and picked up the phone and said, hey, this is going on downtown. They're serving food to hurricane victims, or they have a supply at this church and we're going to distribute goods. And I appreciate that about you because I love serving in that way too. And my position, where my life is, I don't have those access points to know. And you do, and you call and you give people the opportunity to serve right along with you.
I love connections. I love bringing people together in ways.
Very good at it.
Love that.
All right, Katelyn. So now that Danae has shared, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and your testimony?
Okay. So I am a stay-at-home mom. Well, I have been work from home. So stay with my kids at home, but I work from home a lot. I grew up an hour from where I live now, around Spartanburg area in South Carolina, and grew up there. My dad was a deacon. My mom, I grew up in church. I was in church 9 months before I was born. Similar to y'all, the stories kind of coincide there. And when I was 12 years old, Preacher Worley come in and Charles Worley, and he was preaching revival at our church. And for the first time, I felt what you were talking about, Danae, that conviction. Heavy, you're lost. That repetitive lost, I was a nervous wreck. I remember gripping the pews, and I don't remember what I prayed. I don't remember everything about the message, but I remember he was preaching, and I just remember gripping on the pew, and I thought the floor was going to open up, and that was it. It was like, if you don't get saved right now, this is it, And I was sitting with my uncle, and my dad and mom have always sat on the front row, and I was probably 5 rows back. And I remember I pushed past my uncle. He's a pretty big guy. And I was like barreling out of there. And I grabbed my dad and I said, I need to get saved now. He was like, okay. And I don't remember what I prayed, but I just remember a peace that I'd never had before. Yeah. And I could lay down at night and not worry about anything. That was the change. My life didn't change as far as like my drinking problem or whatever that is. I was 12, but it did change in the fact that I had a peace, that I had assurance. I knew that if I died that day, I was going to heaven because I trusted Christ. And then from there, the word, the way that the Bible opened up and I understood more of what it was saying, and it became alive to me. And that's what the Bible says, your eyes are unveiled, your eyes are opened to the scripture. That happened for me. And so from there at 16, I think it was, we had a revival breakout at church and we started a youth prayer room and all those things. And that was about the time in my life where I decided, like, this is the life I want to live. And I think every young person comes to that decision. Danae, you see it more than anybody working with young people. You see the crossroads that you come to. But it was at 16 for me that I thought, I'm going to worship him. I'm going to try to praise him the best I can. I don't care what anybody thinks about it, And so that was a turning point for me there, that I decided, hey, I'm going to go all in worship, that I am free to worship. And I think that was a change in my relationship with Christ. But from there, I started working in an engineering office in Greenville, and I met my husband, who was not saved at the time. When we met, he had a friend. The way that we met is a whole nother story. That's just way too long to get into in the first podcast. But he was from California, was in the military. Along the way, he met a lot of people from Pickens, South Carolina, telling him about Clemson University, all these things, And he came and settled. He was stationed in Charleston. He was supposed to go to Alaska, ended up in Charleston, met a friend of mine's boyfriend at the time, and we met. And so then I got under a really heavy burden to start praying for him, because the day that I met him, I said, I could marry this guy if he was saved. And that was the thing. It was, if he was saved, if I knew he knew the Lord, I could marry him today, just because of his character and how he was and the conversations we had. And long story short, we prayed him in, and and I got to keep him. So that was great. Yeah. So Dawn and I have been married 11 years now. We've been in this area for about 11 years, and we have 3 kids. And the Lord we just appreciate opportunities he opens up for us to serve him and our church. And we've gotten to do some mission work here and there that we both have loved. Dom loves doing that when he gets a chance. And that's really cool to see him.
He lights up with stuff like that.
He does. Yeah. He really does. He loves it. So yeah, that's about all that is in a nutshell. Okay, Mac, what about you?
Okay. Well, sitting here and listening to y'all talk, I'm going to try not to talk with my hands. I'm going to put them right here. But, I see pieces of my story kind of within both of your stories. And, thinking about my life, I mean, I'm only 25, but just so many different moments that the Lord has kind of brought me through to get me to where I am today. So as a child, I lived with my mom. She was a single parent at the time, and kind of went back and forth between grandparents, did a lot of that. My mom worked, was very busy. But as a child, we attended church with my grandparents. So grew up with them, kind of going with my mom's parents and then my dad's parents, kind of back and forth. Went to a lot of Sunday school classes, a lot of vacation Bible schools, very much hearing the same things that Danae was talking about. If you don't get saved, you're not going to be able to go to heaven, those types of things. And so I can remember sitting in vacation Bible school one night, and a very clear gospel message was presented. And I remember going out of that room and talking to the man that was kind of leading that at the time, where we went to church, and kind of claimed that as my conversion into Christianity, I guess you could say, or like my salvation experience. And I remember like standing in front of the church at commencement and saying, I got saved this week and got baptized, and that was the whole thing. But kind of as I was growing up, I didn't visit my grandparents as much. My mom was working, and so kind of got out of church, and very much just there was no life change. Like Katelyn said, I didn't have an alcohol problem or a drug problem or anything like that. I mean, even as a child, you do things that you can change. You can be more respectful to your parents, or you can have a better attitude, or those types of things. And there was just not a lot of that there. And so as I got older in middle school, late middle school, early high school, I did kind of have that desire to go to church and to be involved in things. And I did start doing that. I went back to church with my grandparents and started getting involved in the youth group. And then my family got back in church, went to church with them, very much loved serving, singing, working with children, all of those types of things. But in high school, I remember in October of my sophomore year, I was like, I love doing all these things, but there's something missing. Like there's a piece that I just did not have about my service and about things. It wasn't necessarily for the right reasons. It was more or less like people were looking at me, so I need to do the right thing. And I just knew that there was something missing. So I ended up, we were at a life group that the church that we were going to at the time, been in lots of different churches, but that led me to where I'm at now, which I'm grateful for. But anyway, so the church that we were at that time had something called life groups, and my parents were involved in that, and I was there to babysit the children, which is something I am so good at. No, I'm just kidding. But I remember being there, and I just felt so convicted. I mean, I was watching the kids, but after the service that morning and talking to a few friends, I was like, something really is not connecting here. And so I remember calling one of my best friends and being like, I've claimed to be saved, or I claim to, have called on the Lord to save me, but I don't think I truly have. And so I was clinging to that profession in elementary school and thinking like, oh, I am. But I knew deep down that there was something missing. So called her, and right there over the phone, she led me to Christ. That was, a moment that I was like, okay, now I have that peace. I have that connection, the thing that I was
it
missing.
Like a sigh of relief where it's just like,
yeah, very much so. And I remember my parents coming out, and because they were in the back room doing their life group, and I was like, guys, I got saved while y'all were in there. And they were like, what? And, they were like, we thought, and I was like, well, me too, but I wasn't. So I am now, kind of deal. Very much just started having, that life change and serving and wanting to do those things for the right reasons to glorify God, of course, not myself. And so since then, I've been involved in lots of different things, whether that's teaching Sunday school or singing in the choir or serving in those mission opportunities. I'm a teacher now. So, in a public school classroom, that's kind of my ministry. And met my husband in high school, and the Lord worked a lot of that out as well. I actually met him right after I got saved. So it was kind of like you're not going to be the guy that you're going to marry until you get your life right with me. So did that, and we've gotten married, and we've been married for about 3 years. No kiddos yet, but we are very much loving where we're at, and as far as serving and being members of our church and our community.
So when you say no children yet, except for all the kids that
your children on a daily.
Exactly.
Yes.
On a daily.
Yes.
Well, and even at church, all the kids love Mac. And
well, what was funny was there was just a baby last night that was crying for her to get him, and she got him, and he was totally fine. Whatever, I'm happy now, So you said something to me, and it made me want to ask you a question about, that service. You were doing a lot of things. I mean, you were serving in a huge capacity there. Did you feel a weight of duty on that changed to a love to serve?
I don't know. I almost feel like there was an inward desire, but there again, it wasn't for, it was because people were looking at me what's Mackenzie going to do about this? Or I know at the church that I attended kind of in middle school, my grandparents, there was a youth group, but there was not really anybody there who seemed to be on fire. But I guess you could say I felt a duty. I felt like there was a person that needed to step up and needed to lead and needed to, and help point others to Christ. And, I just felt like as a group, we weren't very much cohesive in what we wanted to do as far as service. But I guess even from a young age, I always loved being involved. I loved teaching with my grandparents in children's church. I loved being able to help out and things like that. And really always loved children, loved doing stuff with kids. But I guess it was more about having that peace and that salvation, and knowing that what I'm doing is not for me, but it's for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen Mac too, super talented. That's a gift that God has given you, and the ability to teach and to be a great Christian communicator.
And organized.
To
structure things.
Very impressed by the organization, because
she's very structured.
But I've seen you teach DBS, and I've watched you do it, and the kids love it. It's like we always turn on the TV almost for them, you know, like zoned in.
Catch your bubble, everybody.
Catch your, literally, okay, guys, not even kidding. Literally changed my parenting style. Okay. The first VBS I heard Catch Your Bubble, and it worked.
Oh, wait, I've never heard Catch Your Bubble.
Oh, hold on 1 second. You're about to have a life change right here because I just used it last night on the way home from church. I was like, y'all better catch a bubble until we get to the house because I'm tired of hearing you argue. Not even kidding.
Yeah.
I have not been catching bubbles for like 100 years. Somebody needs to tell me how to catch a bubble.
I truly don't even know.
Does it work up now?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But kids, I think your bubble. So I don't know where that came from. I just one day
like a way to get them to
buy it. And sometimes, I mean, if it's really not working, you got to give them flavored bubbles. Like here's a cotton candy bubble, or here's a.
Oh, you throw them?
Yeah, I throw them sometimes, or I'll just be like, catch your bubble,
and they hold it until you tell them to let it go.
No way.
I'm not even kidding.
Well, hers hold it because they know. Mine in the classroom don't always hold it, but they talk quite clearly.
I didn't. That's the first I've heard about the flavors.
Yeah,
I didn't know you threw flavors.
That's only when that's only when you need to get real creative.
Okay, here's some Skittle bubbles.
That's exactly right.
I mean,
I'm telling you, I know. I just told him last night to do it. I was like, y'all, I'm tired of y'all arguing. Y'all catch a bubble.
Catch your bubble. Yeah,
I'm gonna try that. Yeah, write that down.
Catch a bubble.
Girl. Something's on. I felt the touch on that. I love a bubble.
Well, I want to thank y'all for sharing your testimonies and for, again, letting me be a part of that. But now that we've kind of gone through that and shared a little bit about us and why we're here, I think every time we have a guest on the podcast, we're going to ask them a fun question to get to know them. So it would only be right if I asked y'all this question.
Okay. You said that we were going to.
2 questions that we're going to ask every guest.
Okay.
All right.
Got it.
The first one is a little sillier.
No.
Okay. If you were stranded on an island with a tribe, which Bible character would you want in your tribe?
Gideon.
Why?
Because he was a warrior. You get up in there and take care of business.
I just want to know what we're doing on this island. Are we fighting? Are we building? Like, what's fighting first?
That's true. That's a good point.
If it's an island and you don't have like anybody on the island with you, then do you really need a fighter?
John to fish.
John.
Okay, sorry.
You call John the Baptist.
I was calling John the disciple.
Oh,
because he's a fisherman.
I would call.
He knew how to make nets and such. If we're just trying to eat.
What are y'all talking about? I'm getting Jesus in my tribe.
That's obvious. He's already there.
Yeah.
He's in the midst. We're 2 or 3 together on that island.
I'm thinking I'm calling John the Baptist because him and Jesus be BFFs.
He could teach you how to eat locusts and hug.
That's right.
Absolutely not. Couldn't be.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Okay, I want to change my answer.
Maybe like a Moses or a Joshua to lead me through the wilderness.
Oh, wait. I know this is random, but I did always think Joshua was really cute.
I think too, for some reason.
Does Joshua sound cute? I picture Joshua being a very handsome young man.
Him or Caleb.
I feel like they're handsome.
Can't forget about them grapes.
We'll find out one day. That's a grape that I'm here for.
Insert pictures of grapes that I made with bullets.
Exactly. Okay.
Do y'all have Bible characters that don't age in your mind? Like Moses, it doesn't matter if Moses was a baby. Moses in my head looks 90 years old. Joshua and Caleb look 30.
The Moses character that's always in my head is the one from that. You remember back in the day, they had a VHS tape of the children of Israel coming out of the wilderness or whatever. It was like a theater style video, so it's live action, but you could tell that the props were not high quality. But my parents watched it all the time, and it was like a big old gray, long beard and a red, that's the face that I see when I see Moses.
Can't say I have.
No. We'll work on it.
Okay. On a more serious note, who is someone in your tribe that has shaped your walk with Christ?
Gosh, that's hard because there's so many.
So many. It almost seems
I literally just
unfair
like
to name
5 in my head that just flipped through.
Do we get to answer this question every time, or we can name someone every time?
No, sis.
I don't want to commit to one.
I would say that there's been a lot of amazing, faithful, godly women in my life. A lot of them are now in heaven that have gone on to heaven. But there's just been so many, especially in a time when I needed them.
Yeah.
And I would receive a card from them, or I would receive a phone call from them. Like, just that constant of godly women who are sold out to serve him. And I got to watch that.
Yeah.
I think that was, I'm not going to say one person, but just a group of godly women in my life. And I could name them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's still some that are alive.
Right.
You know, that still serve and are faithful and right where they have been all these years, over 30 years, 40 years. But I think that challenged me to want to be that for somebody else.
Yeah. I think for me, I grew up in a Christian home, but when I graduated high school, I moved in with my grandparents, and my grandparents lived a very out loud Christian life. They weren't discreet in their walk with the Lord. And I remember I was in college, and so I had like early mornings and late mornings. If it was an early morning, I woke up and my papa was praying out loud, not like quietly, not just to himself, but like in the home. He always left the door open. Like it wasn't, I mean, it was private, but it wasn't silent. Like it was or he was reading his Bible. On my late days, I would wake up and it like never failed. My Mimi was like in the living room with her Bible open, reading and journaling and praying. And like that spoke so much to me about what a Christian walk would look like. There's a lot of people that have influenced my way of thinking and my way of life and all of that, like preachers that have poured in and taught me things out of the scripture and women that have encouraged me. But someone that really shaped my walk and like really demonstrated what that looked like on a daily basis, not at church, not, at a ladies' talk, but like what it looked like in your home.
Behind closed doors.
It was my Mimi and Papa.
Yeah.
Like they lived that so loud and not like in your face. It was, you could tell like they were just there with the Lord, but it was just such a testimony. And it wasn't after revival or before revival when they had to get serious. Like it was every day.
Every day.
Every single day while I lived there, I would wake up and they would
you
be
said
in
you
the
were in
Word.
college?
I was in college.
So, we do family prayer time, and I don't want that to fizzle. Like, I'd love for that to stay on as long as the kids are at home. But do you think that if you were any younger, do you think that would have made such an impact on you as it did when you were older and you were there seeing that behind closed doors, right, they were as dedicated to their relationship with Christ as they were every day?
I think it would have. Now, I will say, like in my early years, I don't know that I would have understood the seriousness of it. Like even now as an adult with children, I understand more the work it takes. It isn't easy. I mean, it rings in my mind every time Brother Rackley says, your Christianity is your responsibility. And I don't know that I would have understood. It would have been a great testament, but I don't think I would have understood the importance.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would have seen it as a choice. I think if I had have seen it my whole life, I would have just thought this is what you do.
What you do. Yeah.
But I think just seeing it as a choice and that just really shaped your walk with Jesus, like realizing that that's one of the most important parts of being a Christian is having that daily walk with the Lord. Yeah. And they just really embodied that. But I mean, obviously, I think children from a young age seeing that obviously does wonders. But I think too, just seeing it in my teenage years made a huge impact on me.
Yeah. Well, and seeing it individual, because of the things that I've caught when studying for Sunday school,
right,
or in your regular prayer time, your regular Bible study time, there's somebody at the back door watching.
Right.
There's somebody going, "What are you doing, Mom? What are you doing? Why?" And so doing it individually, I love that you pointed that out. Making sure that you make time individually outside of those designated family time,
right, yeah,
to for your family and your whoever's in your home to see you reading your Bible, praying, and taking that personal relationship time with the Lord. It's like going on a date with your sweetheart,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
You need to do that because you want to do that. And I understand, like what you said, with it's difficult to make yourself sit down, and that's just the flesh. That's what we have to wrestle with, you know? But once you get in there and you get to read it, and then the impact it makes on the people.
I think too, like so many times, because it's not quote unquote the norm, it's almost like maybe children, I feel like this way sometimes working in young people, they feel like almost that they have to do it so privately. I want my kids to feel comfortable coming in there and getting their Bible verses and reading, or I mean, Kennedy coming downstairs and saying, Mom, look at this verse I just read. Like, I want them to feel comfortable, not like they have to do it so secretly or privately. Like, I want them to feel comfortable. Yeah. And that's one thing that just seeing them, like, they didn't have to go, like, hide. She sat in her living room every day. And I might not have known what those prayers were about or what she was going through, and she might not have shared it, but I just saw it. And that continual, just constant, just made it so much easier for me to feel like, well, I can do that too.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
I think that was a huge impact on my life.
I love
All right. Well, we're going to get ready to wrap up, but I want to ask you guys before we go, why tribe? Why does the tribe matter so much?
It isn't just a name. I feel like we've all had and found, especially because we go to church together, so we have that community. And it goes back to that conversation that Danae had about just calling in and all of us getting on the speakerphone and cutting up and talking to each other about what was going on and things that are happening. But we've also done that in prayer groups, and we've done that in group messages. And hey, I have a burden. I have something. Could you pray for me? And I think it's just community. You know, that tribe. Israel had tribes. They had 12 tribes. You know, and so we just want to play off of that, I guess, and build a community of encouragers here. Yeah. That's where, for me, that's where my thoughts go. Now, you got anything on that?
I feel like, too, it's just a place. I think so many people just want to feel like they can belong to something and relate to something. And I think it's just a place where we can gather and share stories and encourage one another and celebrate how God's moving in our lives, how we can celebrate how God has moved in the lives of the people that we bring to the table, and that listeners, they feel like they're a part of that. So one of the ways that we want to extend the tribe is for you not to just listen to the podcast, but follow us on our social media platforms. And if you have topics that you want us to broach, you can email us, and we'll put all the links for all of our different ways of communication and contact in our show notes.
Yeah. We'd love to hear from you. And I think that's going to be it for today. So this is Mackenzie Sheriff,
Danae Hudson,
Katelyn Ingardia, and we are
the Testimony Tribe.